So we need to simplify this using the order of operations. We need to use parentheses and then exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and then subtraction. So you look inside the parentheses, see if you can simplify this. No and no. So the parentheses part is gone. Exponents, there aren't any. Next, multiplication. Well, this is the multiplication. So we've got this 10. You can use the distributive property to multiply it with the x and multiply it with the negative 3. Notice that you cannot subtract these. 15 minus 10. Again, it's because of the order of operations. You have to do any multiplication or division before you ever get to addition or subtraction. So the multiplying is what we do here. So we've got 15 minus, and multiply these two is minus or negative 10x. A negative times a negative will be a positive 30. And then over here, distribute the 5. So we'd have a positive 15 and then minus 5x. The next thing to do is combine like terms. For example, this has an x in it and this has an x in it, so they're considered like terms. There's negative 10 of them and negative 5 of them. Since the signs are the same, then you go ahead and add the numbers, making it into 15, and keep the sign the same. Negative 15 for the x's. Then for the ones that are just numbers, just add them. So a 15 and a 15 makes 30, and then 30 and 30 makes 60. Positive. Okay, back to the order of operations. So over here, working inside the parentheses first, you need to subtract 12 minus 19 is negative 7. So we've got 7 minus 8 in parentheses, a negative 7. Next, we can go ahead and do this one with the exponents. When this does not have parentheses, then it basically means there's a negative sign, and then the 3 is being squared. So this is going to result in a negative 9. You might think, well, squaring means it's a negative times a negative. Well, only if the original problem would have had parentheses and had the square outside of the parentheses, then this means take whatever's in the parentheses and multiply it with itself. In that case, we would have gotten a positive 9. But this did not have those original parentheses there, so it's a negative 9. Next, we need to multiply. So right here, we've got a 7 times 8 is 56. It's negative times negative, so that means that it's positive 56. Recopy the 7, recopy the minus 9. Now you can add or subtract these in whatever combination you want. You could put the 7 and 56 together and then subtract 9. You could go 56 minus 9 and then add that to 7. But what I would like to do is go combine the two small ones. That would be a negative 9 and a positive 7 is negative 2. So then what I've got is 56 subtract 2. So then it's just 54. This one also has the distributive property, but it's a little more fun because it's got fractions. So distribute the 2/3. So it's going to be 2/3 gets multiplied with an 18x. And then I'm going to have 2/3 times the 4. So I'll put negative 4 gets multiplied with 2/3. Next, distribute the 1/5. So we would have 1/5 x, positive, and then the negative 8 gets multiplied with 1/5. You can write it like that, or you could write it in parentheses like that. They both mean the same thing. So let's see. I need to, before I combine like terms, I need to clean this up because, for example, this can be reduced because you can divide by 3, it'll leave behind a 6. So 3 divided into 18 is a 6. And then there would be the 2 times the 6 is 12x. For this one, the 3 can't divide into the 4, so it can't be reduced. You just have to multiply across the top is negative 8 thirds. This one can't be reduced. It's 1/5 of x. And this one, 5 can't divide into 8, but you could just rewrite it as 8 over 5. Well, now we need to combine the x's. 12x's plus 1/5 x. So if it's 12 plus 1/5 for the x's, you could look at that as 12 plus 1/5. I'll put the x on it later on. I just want to do the number part. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. You could look at that as, well, that means it's 12 and 1/5. But we don't use mixed numbers with algebra, with x's. We are going to make this an improper fraction. And you multiply this direction. 5 times 12 is 60. And then you add on a 1. So that means it's 61/5. Or the other way that you could have done that same thing is you say 12 is 12 over 1. For these two, we need a common denominator, which is going to be 5. So for this one, I have to multiply the top and the bottom by 5. This one would be 5 times 12 is 60 over 5 plus 1 over 5. Means it's 60 plus 1 or 61 over 5. Either way, it's 61 over 5. Now that was for the two x terms. So it's 61 over 5x. Now we need to combine these two, the number terms. They would have a common denominator of 3 times 5 is 15. So this one, multiply by 3 on the top and the bottom. This one, multiply by 5 on the top and the bottom. So what we would have is negative 40 fifteenths for this one, and negative 24 fifteenths for the one on the right. And our last step, 61/5 x is done, minus how much? Well, I know it's going to be fifteenths. Then a negative 40 and a negative 24, so you combine those, it's going to be 64. And I already have the negative. And they are done. For this one, it doesn't have any fractions to make it challenging, but it's got more letters in it. It's got W's and B's. So again, the distributive property, distribute the 5 for this first one. So this will be 20b minus 5w. For the second one, distribute the w. That will be plus 6w plus wb. If you wanted to, you could put bw. It means the same thing as wb. Then over here, distribute the negative 4. So this would be negative 4w's and then positive 24b, because it's a negative 4 times a negative 6 makes positive 24. Now what we have to do is search for any like terms. I see 2 of them, because there's 3, because this is a w term, this is a w term, and this is a w. So I have a w, and a w. So if I put these two together, 6 minus 5 is going to be a positive 1w. Positive 1w brought over here combined with this one means negative 3w's. Come on, w's, don't try to be so negative. Just kidding. Let's see what else. Ah, there's b's. So right here, there's 20 b's. Over here, there's 24 b's. So that would be 44 b's. The only thing that remains is this WB.